BMW Cars here.
We are here with the 2017 Hyundai Elantra
Woo-hoo!
Limited today. So one of the best ways to get a sense of a car is to take it across the country, because any large quirks the car has will annoy you so much that you'll know it's not the car for you. Unfortunately, you can't really do that. You can't have a test drive across the country. So for you guys, I went ahead and drove this car halfway across the country to get a full perspective, and because I needed to go to North Carolina anyway. Let me give you the good, the bad, the ugly. Let me start out with a few little quirks, and then I'll have some more at the end. The seat padding and cushioning, it could be a lot thicker. 2 hours in it, it definitely gets a little, it feels like it's a hard seat. Also on the armrest, kind of where your arm would naturally fall, it's not padded there as well. It's mostly just hard plastic and then a bit of softer plastic, but no padding there, so your arm is going to rest over there and not have that. The other two quirks. The first one involves the mirror up here. If you've ever driven an older Cadillac, are literally as big as, the buttons on your grandparents' old car. Or if you've ever used one of those big button phones, that's how these buttons feel. And I'm not just being nitpicky or petty about how big these are. They're actually bigger than the radio adjustment buttons. So it's an eyesore. And then the second one involves where they put the drive mode button. When you're trying to put this car into sport mode especially, you're not exactly going to take time to look down, try to figure out where everything is. So I'll show you. You can see your hand naturally falls right here when you go to press a button, which is for your heated seat. But the drive mode button that switches it from eco into sport is there. Oh no, I need sport mode. Why isn't it changing? And then, of course, even once you do get the correct drive mode, you now have your heated seat on. Led so many times to me thinking I'd put the car in sport mode, not getting any extra power or tighter steering, and just being left with a heated seat. How does it compare to the old one?
It's better. I had the limited package on the old one, so it had a few more bells and whistles on the inside, but still really nice, great drive, very smooth, very comfortable. It's a really good car. I mean, lots of room in the back seat, very sporty, gives you a lot of bang for your buck. And this one has a drive assist on it without actually having the cruise control, which was nice, which I didn't realize the first time I drove it, when a truck slowed down in front of me and was turning, and all of a sudden the car just stopped.
That is very cool. Yeah, not only to mention that, but this has the lane keeping assistance, which as long as the light is green, it will do it for a limited amount of time for you, and you don't even have to have the cruise control, and it'll just keep you in the lane. It won't even beep, it'll just steer itself.
Just do it for you, which if you don't know what's happening is terrifying.
But it's really nice, because a lot of times cars will pull you back in your lane, like the Mercedes one, for example, but it won't just gently steer you if the cruise control is not on. As the camera can read the lines, it will actually start doing those micro steering adjustments for you. There's one thing. When either of these cars lose the lane markers, the lane lines that they're following, they don't beep, they don't flash, just the little green light on both turns white. That's the only way you know. Your hand on the wheel and you're, monitoring the situation, but you're letting the car make those micro adjustments that are just so exhausting. That's why these systems are great for you. You think it would kind of alert you in some way, because if your hand's on the steering wheel, both systems will beep, vibrate. But if it loses the lanes that it's tracking and not steering itself or making micro adjustments for you, the only way you find out is when your car leaves the lane, if you're not looking down at that little light. The system will say, grab the steering wheel after just 20 seconds. So you have to kind of make these steering adjustments that might not make a lot of sense in the Hyundai system. That's kind of bad. I hope they would, just make sure that the steering wheel is, being moved. And on the old car, I don't know if it kind of didn't look masculine. It sort of had a certain feminine kind of look to it. This one though, it looks larger and it looks more substantial. Let us do a very, very quick walk around. Just a really handsome car. Also, I like how they're doing the LEDs down there with the little pattern. I think that with the headlights kind of going, you know, into the car, that elongates it nicely. And then that line running from the taillights up here is a very nice touch as well. Like the rims on this one, they are very nice. And then of course they did, you know, that almost spoiler look back there. Around the back here, it is also, you know, substantially new trunk, new lights, new bumper. You can't get much newer than that. You know, I like this look. What do you guys think of the LEDs and whatnot back here? I think it looks pretty nice. This one is the Limited. We'll talk a little bit about why I might have preferred the Eco, but let's take a look at the interior of this car first. From the back, it is, I think the old one may have looked nicer inside. It looks as good as anything else in the class, for the most part, material-wise and everything like that. But, you know, the door handles are plastic, and then just the way they've done this trim here, it was much brighter on the old car, whereas this just looks a little more subdued, and it looks more like plastic. I do like the way they have the shifter. No paddles or anything like that, but this is more of a economy car than a sports car. I was very excited to see the fact there is a drive mode button. This is a car my camera assistant actually knows a little bit about, because, do you want to tell him your qualifications, or shall I?
It's the first car I ever bought all on my own.
Yep, she had the previous generation. And then she also had a Honda Civic before that, so she's fairly knowledgeable and has experience with this classic car, probably more so than me in a lot of ways. Yes. So she's been actually driving it around and getting a feel for it. What do you think?
I love it. I mean, I missed my old one, which was kind of nice to drive this. I mean, being the first car I bought on my own, I was very sentimental about it and cried a little when I had to let it go. So, but now it's great ride. And then of course a trip computer here. You know, basic, but nothing bad about those gauges. Pretty basic steering wheel. It's almost, they kind of went for the flat bottom look, but nothing to write home about there. The maps, the nav system is okay. Especially for the price, it's really good.
Yeah, this car is under $30,000. It comes out with pretty much everything on it, literally every option at 27 grand. So that's amazing.
Again, if it's the first car you're gonna buy all on your own.
Yeah, I would say, or if you're shopping for like the Corolla, it's as luxurious and more sporty, and you get the reliability with that. Or if you have the last generation Elantra, it's a huge upgrade. It's like stylistically it looks better, as we talked about, and then of course the interior has more tech. As she mentioned earlier, the interior quality, it looks a little more muted. The old one looked fancier, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Inside.
Yeah, fancier, but still really good. Has all the same things.
So from a driving perspective, somewhere near the end of the last generation one, or before this refresh, they did add a steering adjustment button, which helped. Steering is still, as car and driver said, the off center or the on center part. It's difficult. It feels very electric. So there's that. Now to talk about that power. It comes from a 2-liter dual overhead cam, 16 valve, pretty straight little 4-cylinder engine there. I almost wish they'd sent me the Eco version, because it has more torque, dual clutch transmission, and it's a turbo. That's how it can have more torque from a smaller engine. But I mean, you know, pretty standard engine. I'll talk a bit more So how is it to drive with? I recently did a review on the Mazda 3, which is actually kind of older than this car in terms of being refreshed. That's definitely the sportier choice. If you're younger, more focused on performance, or perhaps the Civic, which I'll be telling you more about in that upcoming review, which I will link here once that's up, but subscribe otherwise for that. Now, and if you're coming out of the last generation Elantra, if it's still going strong, keep it and wait for the next full refresh, full new suspension, full new engines version of the Elantra. But compared to the old one, you'll notice a big improvement in there. You'll like it a lot, as you heard from my camera assistant. And it is a great all-arounder. It's kind of like the Toyota Camry in that way. It's great at everything. It doesn't necessarily, it's not like, oh, this leans a little bit sportier, this leans this way or that. It's just a good value proposition all around. And on the eco mode, the fuel economy numbers, they actually do hit 40.